When I first began living here on the homestead, growing my own food, caring for animals, etc., I picked up a number of hobbies. One of them being woodworking. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. I think one day I just went too far down the DIY furniture rabbit hole, but one day I decided that I wanted to build a chair. And that led to me building a table, which led to building benches, desks, etc. And one of the things I really enjoy about woodworking is you don't have to be necessarily good at it to end up with good furniture. I am an amateur woodworker with a very strong emphasis on the amateur. I built these shelves next to me, and I made a lot of mistakes in the process. Case in point, when I went to the lumber store to buy the boards for my bookshelf, I think everyone had the same idea because all of the good wood was taken. Everything that was left over was bent, warped, cracked. It had been drawn on with markers, so I really had to dig to find wood that was useful for my project. And even then, there still were some twists and some bends where there shouldn't be. So when I came home and I cut the boards and I put them together, the end result is that there are some gaps where there shouldn't be. There's some twists where there shouldn't be. A skilled woodworker will definitely notice them, but I'm not a skilled woodworker, so I just pretend that I don't. In addition to that, when I was drilling the pilot holes for the screws to attach the shelves on my bookcase, I missed on a couple of them. Now, it's not a huge deal. The shelves ended up where they needed to, but again, a skilled woodworker would look at this and he would notice some holes where there shouldn't be. So given the string of mistakes I just told you about, one might think that this project was a disaster, but the truth is I couldn't be happier with it. It looks fairly decent, I think, and it does a great job of holding up my Conan the Barbarian novels, so I've got no complaints. I made a lot of mistakes, but it's still a good bookshelf. And the reason I bring this up is that we as Buddhists, when we come to the practice, oftentimes we come with a certain amount of baggage. I always joke, no one starts practicing Buddhism because they're happy. And because we have this baggage, because we have this trauma, this suffering that we're carrying with us, because we've made mistakes in the past, we may also be carrying a fair amount of guilt. Guilt over things that we've done, guilt over things that we didn't stop others from doing. And when we sit down on the cushion and look at the contents of our mind, we may not like the things we see. The greed, the anger, the ignorance that we find there can be tough to deal with. But in Buddhism, much like woodworking, things don't have to be perfect in order to be good. In fact, Buddhism teaches that while we may have made mistakes, those do not negate the good things that we have also done. In fact, I would wager if you look back at those tough times in your life, those times when maybe you weren't making good decisions, there was still probably some good that you were doing. There was some benefit that you were bringing to others. And the fact that you're engaging in spiritual practice now, working to alleviate the greed, anger, and ignorance of your mind, is no different than a woodworker picking up his tools to build a piece of furniture. Yes, you will make some mistakes, but you will build something with your body, with your speech, with your mind that will be of benefit not just to you, but to everyone around you as well. Instead of constantly recriminating ourselves and beating ourselves up for our mistakes, Buddhism says that we should learn to enjoy them. See them, learn from them, strive to do better in the future, and understand that we've managed to do a lot of good in spite of them. When we look at ourselves through this lens, we're able to treat ourselves with a certain amount of grace, a certain amount of understanding, a spaciousness opens up where healing becomes possible. When we look at the bookshelf and notice the mistakes, well, now we know to be more careful in the future. Maybe we measure twice instead of once. When we look at our own life and maybe we said something in the moment that we're ashamed of, well, we recognize our mistake, we don't look over it, but then we also recognize that, well, now I have the opportunity to wait a beat. Stop and think a moment about the words that are about to come out of my mouth. Our mistakes, instead of becoming something we beat ourselves up over, become a learning opportunity. We learn to enjoy them because we know they're making us better people in the future. In the same way that noticing the mistakes that we make in a woodworking project might make us a better woodworker in the process. Might enable us to build better, more attractive furniture in the future. But this is only possible if we give ourselves the grace, the understanding, the freedom to make mistakes, knowing that it will happen and also knowing that we will do better in the future.